Republicans and the conservative media too, obviously, as we'll get to in a second, are really defending this new law that passed in Georgia and was signed by the governor that basically bars a number of voting rights to people in the state. You know, they're not very happy that Georgia turned blue, as evidenced by Trump calling the officials in Georgia constantly post-election in 2020, trying to get them to find a couple thousand votes to put them over the top. And then they're also not happy that they went from 2 U.S. senators who were Republicans in Georgia to 2 U.S. senators who are Democrats in Georgia. Democrats basically full on all around turned Georgia blue this past year. And they don't want that to happen anymore. So they basically are making it harder to vote in Georgia. And one of the things that they're doing is as part of the law is that it will be illegal. Well, it is illegal now due to this law for people to give those voters waiting in line to vote water. And here's Fox and Friends doing their darned hardest to try to defend that.
The water argument is what cracks me up, though, because what line have you ever stood in? If you go to Yankee Stadium and you stand in line to get a ticket, do they serve you water? Do you care?
Just hot towels. That's all I get.
I have been voting for over 40 years.
I've never had water.
And I have never thought to myself, okay, I'm going to go vote today. Will they have snacks?
Right, absolutely.
I'm not worried about snacks.
I know.
No water.
Well,
Psycho.
Like you don't live in Georgia in a predominantly black community that was targeted by these voter suppression laws. This is an easy.
Right. There's places where the line to vote is literally 6, 7, 8 hours sometimes. People do need a drink, but the thing is, I think we're even like not. I think we're getting too into this with them. Like we're falling into the trap. I think because that's not even analogous. I'm not even talking about the difference between voting and waiting for a hot dog in a Yankee Stadium line. I'm talking about the fact that the law doesn't it's not like getting water on a voter line was like mandatory in Georgia and they're barring it. No, like if someone at Yankee Stadium saw you waiting for a hot dog, they can still legally bring you the water while you're waiting in line if they wanted to. In Georgia, it is illegal for someone to decide to voluntarily bring a cup of water or a water bottle to an individual waiting in line. Like, it's not like they did away with the nationalization of the water delivery department who is forced to deliver water to people waiting in line in Georgia. Like, it just doesn't even make sense, that analogy.
Well, of course it doesn't make sense. They just want to obfuscate and make it and belittle what the experience is. What the experience is for black voters in Georgia is they often have to wait in line for 4 to 5 hours or multiple hours at least because they are targeted by the Republican governor and the legislature there that shuts down polling locations so that it's incredibly busy in their specific area. The reason volunteers hand out snacks and water is because it's so arduous to vote, and they want them to have some comfort while they're standing there and not give up and go somewhere else, which is why this part of the legislation is designed to make it more uncomfortable for black people to vote in those areas. And so maybe they will be like, oh, I'm so thirsty and hungry, I've got to leave. That's the whole reason.
Well, I mean, let me just play this little clip from a Vox thing. I mean, the reality of these lines, it's getting
When
worse.
Joseph Johnson went to vote in his first presidential election, this isn't what he expected.
The line went this way in front of our auditorium and then snaked around into our library.
The last person at his polling location didn't get to vote until 1 a.m.
It was the longest line that I've ever waited in my entire life.
Like I've never got into a Yankees game at 1 a.m. finally, right? Like you actually move through those lines.
Yeah.
Where was that where was that individual from voting?
It looks like it was at a university in Georgia.
Georgia? Okay. When does Georgia close their polling?
Is that correct, Matt? I didn't.
That was Texas, I think.
Oh,
Texas, all right. When does Texas close their? Because I want to give people a full-on example of the minimum amount of time that last person he mentioned was waiting. Because if you voted at 1 a.m., that's well after the polls close. But to vote at 1 a.m., you need to have been waiting in line by the time the polls close. So we would then know like the minimum amount of time this person waited. Let's say like 9 p.m. I'm assuming that's probably the latest most polling places stay open, right?
7 p.m.
7
p.m. for Texas. So it's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. So we're talking a minimum of 6 hours if this guy literally got on the line in the nick of time at 7 p.m. on the dot.
Yeah. Tell us that isn't designed to specifically dissuade a certain kind of voter. And that was at a university, Matt? Also young?
Yeah, and of course, if I was a university student, I definitely would go do something else probably. Like, unless you're a very politicized person, you're not going to wait 5 hours to vote.
Yeah, exactly.
And you will never see Ducey or Ainsley or Kilmeade ever have to vote under those conditions.
Well, they live in New York, so they can vote by mail. And then the Georgia law targets mail-in voting as well.